I like to shift gears right now to a more serious topic to a segment we call Venting with Vinnie. All right. As we all know, a couple days ago, March 27th, there was a mass shooting that occurred at the Covenant School in Nashville, Tennessee. The shooter was a transgender male. Like, I don't know, is it because it was a she, but she wanted to be a boy? I don't know. I don't pay attention to the transgender.
It was a woman. It was a girl.
It was a girl. Okay, that transgender, whatever. Okay. And her name was Audrey Elizabeth Hale. Murdered 6 people, as well as herself, whatever. I'm not going to get into it. 3 children, 3 staff members were the victims. Our hearts go out to everybody, the victims, the families, to everybody involved with the situation. It's disgusting. Christy, you actually wrote an article for Valuetainment. It's on valuetainment.com called Nashville School Shooter. It's not a gun problem. It's a mental health problem. I read the article. I loved it. I do agree with everything that you said in it. And I normally don't, when people write articles, I always have my own thing. But can you please give everybody at home a brief synopsis of what you wrote?
I mean, I just always find it funny. Everything has been made so political nowadays. So something as tragic as a school shooting almost immediately turns into this political game of like, who's to blame? And I think that there's 2 radical sides that always go ahead of each other, and it's either taking away guns or making the Second Amendment, abolishing it so that we can protect children, or do we take care of this mental health problem that's happening in society? And I feel like in some ways, 2 things can be right at the same time. Mm-hmm. I do feel like it's foolish to be blaming a firearm for killing these people when if there's no one behind pulling the trigger, the firearm can't possibly do it by itself.
Got you.
So it's kind of like, I think they're trying to pass this this bill for like pit bulls. You know how they have like certain breeds that are banned, but they keep other ones, and it's like, it's always that same fight of like, it's not the dog, it's the owner and how you raise the animal. It's the same thing I feel like with firearms. Like, we have to take care of the person behind the trigger. We have to make sure if there's like a psychological test that I think that we can add maybe before you obtain a firearm. I think that would be great. But what I think is more important is the fact that we have the manpower and the funds to protect our schools. Mm-hmm. I think that we have a lot of veterans out there who come back from war. They pass the psychological test. They're fully able-minded and capable. I think that there's a way where we can continue giving them more purpose and maybe place one of them in each school. I mean, we do the same thing in almost every other event.
Yeah.
Music festivals,
100%.
Concerts, baseball games, celebrities get protected from the
president, everybody in government.
The government. So I think that we definitely have the funds to be able to do that and implement them in schools, as well as, maybe the psychological tests before obtaining firearms. I just think that there's multiple ways to go about it, but just taking away firearms or blaming guns, I think that this is a bigger problem, and I think it's the mental health of society nowadays.
So, Chrissy, and mind you, this isn't me. When we speak like this, I know you get that pushback of people going, well, if we just take away all the guns, then that'll solve that they don't care about the person behind it. So what do you say to somebody that's like, let's just take all the guns?
That's a bad idea.
Yeah, no, I don't want to find this. I'm gonna come to you, Shamar.
I feel like the bad people are still gonna be able to find their weapons. I think that that's just gonna limit the good people who are trying to do the right thing, obtain their firearms correctly and legally. I think it's just gonna take their rights away, and the bad people are still gonna be able to get it.
Yeah, Shamar, what do you think?
I mean, historically, and I wrote this down a little earlier. Historically, whenever a country decides to take away the guns or even do some type of gun control, there's usually some type of mass murder or execution style thing that happens to a group of people. Like, for instance, I think in 1911, they did this in Turkey, and it was 1 million Armenians that got killed. They did this in Russia in like 1930 or something like that. And then there was an execution of many different Russian dissidents. Did it in China. They've done it in Germany before World War II, and they killed, look how many Jews. So before they go on any type of mass murdering spree, anybody that is a despot and that wants power, they usually will disarm the population in some way, 100%. Whether it's through gun control or actually taking in the guns. So I'm not necessarily for too much gun control. I believe that everybody should get their license, and once you get your license, you get your fingerprinted. There's gun tests.
Yeah.
But it is definitely a mental health issue. It is definitely something going on in somebody's cabeza that is way wrong.
I agree 100% because, bro, like, mind you, I have multiple guns. I have guns in California. I'm getting them shipped here because I just moved here. But it's like you said, those guns right now, Chrissy, they're chilling. Shamar, my guns are chilling. It's to actually get to the point where you have to go and you feel like murdering innocent, like, dude, killing kids. There's definitely something going on here. And this shooter, the mass shooter, the Audrey Elizabeth Hale, apparently she was in therapy and she had mental problems. She had all these guns. The parents didn't know. And Patrick talked about this on his podcast. It do comes down to like accountability for family and friends. It's like, bro, if you see this person showing this type of attitude or showing this, apparently they didn't know about the guns, but like, do you guys feel like if you think something is going on or you feel something's going on, even though they're in the same ideological like basket as you, but you just leave them alone and let them do their thing?
When you say leave them alone and do their own thing, what are we talking about
Like,
here?
are you just like, yeah, they're kind of crazy, but whatever. Yeah, I know that they have guns, but I'm not going to report my friend or my family member because they will get in trouble, even though they're saying some outlandish stuff.
I mean, one of the things about America is that we do lean on the side of liberalism. And when I say liberalism, I don't necessarily mean being a liberal. I mean the fact that we are about freedom and allowing people to do whatever they want to do, how they want to do it, and give them their right to be who they want to be.
Got you.
Now, the problem with that is that when you're crazy, we also allow you to be a crazy bastard and do whatever the hell you want to do. You know, it's not like it's my job as another American citizen to now go call the Help Me Howard or whatever hotline to go check you.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so I'm a big fan of accountability. Your problem is your problem. My problem is my problem. Her problem is her problem. And we have to be somewhat self-aware to the point where it's like, all right, I'm having an issue.
But
I need to go get that worked out.
What are you going to say, Chrissy?
I think it's mainly because for me, I think people are just so lost on what's sane and what's insane nowadays. And I think it reflects a lot on your moral compass. I think it has to do with I think each person has their own foundations, their own moral compass, and how they live their life and what they deem to be good or bad, crazy or sane. And I think people, especially like the younger generation, especially these shooters that are coming out, I just feel like people are either afraid to say something or they just don't know what it is. If it's just like someone being themselves, being crazy, or they should just leave them alone, like let them do their thing, like what you said. Like I don't know where they should step in.
Draw the line.
Yeah, it's difficult. I feel like people are lost and they don't know what
Dodge,
to
I'm going to come
on.
to you in a second. What were you going to say?
See, now the biggest issue with trying to find out what you're asking is like, where are they standing? And this may be a little inflammatory, but if you are a transgender, he, she, whatever, I don't think you know where you're at anyway. So now we're trying to ask somebody who doesn't know what gender they are. They don't even know what bathroom they should be going to know what's the difference between right or wrong, good, evil, bad, good, you know?
Exactly. Like
so you got a bunch of confused people walking around with guns. Are they crazy or are they criminal? Because those are two different things. Now they go to a psych ward. They don't go to jail.
Yeah.
They want to die anyway. They want to take out these kids with them. Did they have beef with the teachers that they went to school with there?
Yeah, because she did the Audrey Hale. She went to this Christian school.
She was aiming for the pastor's daughter.
So
and the
she's
pastor's
got
daughter passed away.
She didn't kill the pastor's daughter.
She did.
She killed the pastor's daughter? Wow.
She's got an internal beef. So maybe her in her he-she-ness, she was thinking like, all right, these Christian people tried to oppress my sexuality and personality, and you know what? It's time for me to take vengeance.
Oh, and I hope, and I saw this somewhere on the internet. It was somebody said, and this wasn't me. Somebody made a thing. They were like, if this was any other religion, like if it was at a Jewish school or a Muslim school, it would have been hate crime, 100%. Notice how this thing is just fizzling out in the news. I barely even saw. There's no more cops standing in front of schools because that's what normally happens because they got to show of force and protect. But it's like crazy that Christianity, and we talked about this yesterday, like Christianity is just not doing really well on the like platform of society because it's like, bro, like we're like we're kind of down
You
here.
want me to
When
go
they're
there?
getting
No, I want you to.
persecuted.
But well, I just want to ask real quick, though, Dodge. Out of this whole situation, Dodge, where were you at? Because I know you're a reporter and you're doing all that. But we were joking with you, but I want to know your serious take on this.
Yeah, it's how many more shootings has to happen before people realize that the Christian community is facing serious hatred and discrimination as well. Because remember, we could also think back to the Charleston shooting in the church over there.
Yep.
That was racially motivated and it was religiously motivated.
Yep.
And what really kind of inflames me is President Biden today was asked about Josh Hawley advocating to officially identify this incident as a hate crime. Biden said, "Oh, I haven't heard that," and they said, "Well, it came from Senator Hawley," and he said, "Well, if it came from Senator Hawley, then I don't agree with it."
Wow.
He was so flippant, and I'm an advocate to make sure nobody gets attacked. Pulse nightclub was an attack on LGBTQ people. There have been attacks based on hatred for women, based on hatred for members of the Islamic community. But what I'm saying is we have to stay. Progressives can't have selective hatred enforcement. We have to stand against all hatred, whether that be with our LGBTQ neighbors, our black neighbors, or our Christian neighbors. So it's this remarkable hypocrisy where if you view this from an objective standpoint, there's no way to agree with the progressives here whatsoever.
Got you. And so Dodge, what do you think one change that they could do or we could do to try to like shift gears and make it a little bit? Because I mean, dude, like you said, we're under attack. Every other religion is looked at. They're like, oh my God, these people hate them. When it comes to Christians, we're like third class. You know what I mean? Like what?
Well, I would say identify and find Christian hate groups and Christian hate movements.
Right.
That's what's been missing. You know, you think of like the Southern Poverty Law example, for example, and they do good work. They identify racist hate groups. There is no such law or governmental organization that tries to investigate and root out Christian hate groups. And of course, it's glaringly obvious that the civil liberties of our Christian residents are not being respected. In fact, who knows? Maybe there's a subversive feeling that the more Christians fall by the wayside and the more of them are gone, the more we could promote our agenda. So I wonder if there's something deeper as to why Biden is not reflexively saying this is a hate crime. Let's investigate anti-Christian hate groups.
I agree.